Thank you for tuning in to the Revelation Podcast. This is the podcast that brings people together. I am Matt.
Tyler.
And Joe.
Let's dive in.
So welcome back to the Revelation Podcast. I am Tyler, and this is my story. So, to start off, how I found God. All through my life, I was just told that God was real, God was this powerful being who breathed life into us, who gave us an opportunity to live and one day be in His kingdom. I, being young, never really understood what that meant. I was just like, okay, yeah, I pray to God, thank you, God. I really never understood what any of that meant. I really never read the Bible. Honestly, really never went to church. Never really went to anything pertaining with God. But yet, I believed in God. Well, no. I might have said that I believed in God, but I didn't know God. So, it all started when I was 18. I just graduated high school. I'm like, this is awesome. I just graduated high school. I'm already planning my life out. Saying, I'm going to go to college and then I'm going to get the best job ever. And, I'm going to have a girlfriend that one day I'll turn into a wife and have kids and blah, 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 blah. Not even thinking I can't plan my own life out. God already knows how my life's going to be planned out. So I go to college at this little community college, and I was going to transfer up to the main college. I only lasted 2 weeks. I couldn't find where my classes were. No one was helpful. And then to make matters worse, after 2 weeks, they said I had to pay in full all this money because my loans didn't go through, and we were in arguments with the school itself. You could wait a month or two before you actually have to pay, but they said they need the money up front there. So I just dropped out. Went working at the security place and basically worked full time, where I worked double shifts and just worked and worked and worked, not knowing anymore how it was to feel like a kid and to hang out with my friends and go to the movies and do whatever. So I started hanging around with the wrong crowd, and I didn't do any drugs, but I started drinking heavily. I would come home from work and just go get my money to whoever it would be. He would go to the liquor store and grab me a bottle. And the thing is when I was younger, I never drank liquor really. It would just be beer. So I was in deep. Started drinking heavy liquor, which is people who I thought were my friends, but actually weren't my friends. I just were with them because I knew I could get alcohol and kind of boo-hoo my life. The next day, it would happen. Go to work, hungover, sick to my stomach, feeling like death, and then do it all over again. And it was over and over for about 4 months. Then this kid I went to high school with kept on saying, hey, come to this school, I think you would like it. We want you to play baseball again. We need a pitcher. We want you to come and play. Would you be willing to? And I'm like, nah, man. I would say so many different lies and say, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I just don't want to. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting at home with these random people while they're doing drugs. I'm just drinking, getting messed up. Well, this one particular time, I came home from work fairly early and just binge drinked with these people. And binge drinked, and then walked down to our local Sheets, got something to eat, and then started binge drinking again and again and again until I just blacked out. My phone died, had no way to contact my parents, and to be honest, they could have done something to me, robbed me, stole from me, or the amount of alcohol that I had, it could have been done for me. I woke up the next morning not until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. My parents were calling. They thought I was dead. They thought someone stole me. They didn't know what happened. I came staggering in, and they weren't even mad. They were so happy just to see me that, they just embraced me, put their arms around me, and cried their eyes out. And to be honest, I still didn't understand what it meant. The love and everything. So, it's like, you have to hit your lowest of low before you realize things. So, the next week I did the same thing, but this time I looked at myself in the mirror and kind of just said, what am I doing? What am I doing with myself? If there is a God, I don't think He would want me to be doing this, right? If there is a God, He would definitely be disappointed. And if He has so much stuff for me to do, why live the life that I was living? So I came home. First off, I just was done with those particular friends. I just was called it quits. And they were mad, but you know what? You're going to make people mad who don't want the best for you, don't want you to succeed. So I came home, called up the friend from college, and had him help me set up a date to go to the school. And I got in. Didn't even think I was going to get in. Happiest day of my life. But there was still a lot more to learn before I really knew God. So, first couple months in school now, I didn't like it. Didn't really know people. I didn't know how to socialize, because going from a small school and only liking so many people, I already wanted to quit. But something in my head said, don't quit. I got you here. Don't quit. Something was just telling me to just keep fighting. And I kept on thinking, I want a life for my family. Now, I ain't saying for any of you out there to go to college. Maybe you want to go to a trade school. To be honest, a trade school is a lot better. But for me, this was my path. I had to. There was no way. God just had it planned out. Either way, I was going to college. I just didn't know it yet. So I started thinking about all this and realized, I'm going to be the first one in my family to go to college. First one. I want to do this not only for myself, but for my family. That one day I could make a decent amount of money to help my family out. To help myself out, because I know how it feels to feel poor. If you know how it is to feel poor and things breaking on you and not being able to fix it or have the money, you'll understand. So then I started liking school, after having that realization. Started liking it. Started getting good grades, I was on top of the world again. Then come March, one of my friends who played all kinds of sports with me and everything had a blood clot and died. Now, to back it up a little bit, I never mentioned this. I was a worrywart all through high school, all through everything. Always was concerned with other people's opinions about me, and always worried what people thought about me, or just worried about death, worried about things that I had no control over. So yeah, my friend passed away, and as soon as I went on top of the world, I came crashing right back down to my own hell. started having real bad anxiety attacks, and then it would clear up, and then the anxiety was so bad, it made me believe I couldn't breathe. If I had a certain food or something, it made my throat just tighten up, my chest tighten up. I started to sweat, heart palpitations, you name it. I was having it. And this occurred until the very next year. So I only went to freshman year in the spring. So I went spring freshman year, fall freshman year, I was at my lowest. I only weighed 210 pounds, and it was because I wasn't eating. And I was praying to God, this time I was starting to learn God more. So I'm praying to God, saying, please just get me out of this. Just get me out of this. And me praying, I wasn't out of it, because the next day I would start huffing and puffing again because of this anxiety. But I would just talk to God for hours and hours and hours because I couldn't fall asleep until he just it was like a blanket of just love. He would just put right over top of me, and I would end up falling asleep. It was the scariest thing that I've ever felt. I thought I was at my lowest point with the drinking. But this was a nightmare, relived like a Groundhog's Day, each and every day. Not being able to breathe. Some days I just wouldn't want to go to school, but I would still fight, because that voice in my head, not my voice, but God's, would tell me to keep on fighting. You're a fighter. Even though I would never do it, there was a couple of times I did think about suicide. And I would never actually do it. But I needed this to go away. I needed it to go away, because it just kept on coming on stronger and stronger and stronger. It seemed like it was each and every year for 3 years straight. After that spring of freshman year, it was going. It didn't end until basically the summer before my senior year, which was in 2019. So from 2017 to the summer of 2019, I was having these horrific incidences. It was like my own personal hell. And the thing is when I was at my lowest point, when I thought that I was all alone, when I thought each and every day I was dying, and I'd pray to God saying, please just give me another day. Just give me another day. Just give me another day. Because in my mind, I really thought I was dying, and there was no one going to help me. He gave me another day. He gave me another day. I started setting my alarm clock because I really had in my mind that I was going to die, that my alarm clock would wake me up. That's bogus. The alarm clock didn't wake me up. He did. Because he wasn't finished with me. He had more for me, and he still has more for me. I went to Gettysburg with my friends, one of them being Matt. And, this was last year, the summer of 2019. And out of just nowhere, because I didn't want to tell them, but I was having still anxiety attacks and everything. I prayed to God that give me a sign that I'll be okay. Give me a sign that all this will be over with. That I could be better. That I don't have to worry about this anymore. The very next day, spontaneous, Matt and his mom were like, well, why don't we go down, because we're close to Baltimore, to this shrine. I forget which shrine it was now. I can't even think. But they were like, why don't we go down there, check it out, see what all cool things it has. I'm like, is that weird that I just prayed just for a sign, just for something, and he answered it. Just like every time when I was going through hell with the drinking and then the anxiety attacks I was having, he's always been there, always pushing me to succeed. Knowing that even when I think I'm at my lowest, he knows I'm not at my lowest. Or when I'm at my lowest, I should say, that he's there to pick me up. So we go down to this shrine. My first shrine I've ever been in. Beautiful. And I remember going up and kneeling and praying at this one altar and crying. Now, if you know me like my friends do, I'm not really a crier. I try to hold everything in, which isn't good. And again, it's a learning process. You adapt, you learn, you change for the better, not for the worse. So I just started crying. I had tears running down my eyes and everything. Most purest thing ever. Purest. So I knew I had to go get stuff. So I bought a couple crosses and necklaces and everything. And that right there is when I started knowing that God was with me. That God has always been with me. That He's never left me. I left Him. He never left me. And then I never said this, but when we were coming home from Gettysburg, I still can't fathom what I saw. And it's in my journal that I have. 3 doves flew right past us. And I was praying at that instance. Still thanking Him and just praying that this anxiety will go away. So after that, I would just talk to Him about my anxiety. And something inside me said that you need to open up to people. So I started opening up to people and changing in that sense. I started talking more to people and getting to know people that I never knew before, and just kind of not changing my funny personality or anything, but the things I kept just secret and dark and kept up that was just boiling to get out, I would let open. Vulnerable, because people could use that against me and tease me and do whatever, but it was helpful, and it was because of God. He definitely helped me out that day and ever since, but it's still a long process for me. I definitely went to my lowest point. I know that I did find God, but the devil, he's not only a trickster, but he's manipulative. He still tells my brain that I can't do it. He tells me, that's how he gets me. He has me questioning that his existence, the existence of God. And I know it's him because I've actually felt presence. And it's scary, when you could feel this evil overlapping you, when you could feel this evil watching you, ready to strike when you mess up. But I know where there's evil, there's light, there's goodness. And that's God. It's like a boxing ring. Every time I get hit and knocked down, God brings me back up, and He shows me how to block and block and block. He shows me how to maneuver around the obstacles. He's still showing me, because, it hasn't always been easy for me. You heard all the things leading up to this. But still, there's still instances where I lose Him a bit. And you could feel it, when you lose Him. You just feel disconnected. And it hurts and it's scary, because then the devil makes you think, well, what if I ever find Him again? Will I ever find Him again? No, you won't ever find Him again. And you have all these negative, evil thoughts just overlapping and pounding your brain, saying, you're never going to find Him. But He's always there. So to say now that, I don't know if they've said this, but I kind of want to. Never give up. I found Him, but I'm still trying to find Him 100% and stick by Him and stick with Him. When you're at your lowest, pray to Him. When you're at your highest, pray to Him. When you don't know what to do in the day, or you can't figure something out, pray to Him. And the thing is He's not no genie. He's not going to just magically just appear. He's not going to just make the things go away like that. You heard what happened to me. It was months, years down the road. Scary. It was my own personal hell that I thought that I was never, ever, ever going to get out of. But where there's a storm, there's also a rainbow at the end of it. When everything clears up. Like He got His disciples out of that storm. so can He get you out of this storm. The storms don't last forever. The darkness don't last forever. And that's what I'm starting to realize. That He lets me wake up and He gives me a day. And what I do in that day is, I wouldn't say free will. It's not all up to me, but I make my happiness. Things could be going bad and bad and bad on a sunny day. But if I just go and think of all that He's done for me, if I think of that, how I have a house over my head, food in my stomach, clothes on my back, and think of all the happy stuff that I do have, not all the stuff that I don't have, well then, that's a day I made out pretty good. And you got to think, all the gloomy days could be the best days ever. So He gives you a day. Whatever you do, whatever you say, that's up to you, for the most part anyways. He's having me learn each and every day. It's kind of like conditioning. Conditioning my mind, conditioning my soul. I get knocked around, but then He's like, don't pay attention to him. Don't pay attention to the devil. Come back to me. You didn't make out this day, but there's a whole brand new day ahead of you. Are you going to carry your sadness and your negativity over to that next day? And then think in your mind, well then, the next day after that will be a good day. The next day after that will be a good day. The next day after that will be a good day. No. Today, when you listen to this, today will be your good day. Because God will be there with you. And even in the midst of trouble, even when things seem to never end, just remember, He's watching over you. He has a watchful eye over you. And He knows what will happen to you. And what that day will unfold. So don't worry, but lean on Him to get you out. Trust in Him to know the plan to help you out. Everyone finds God in so many different ways. You could be a prude and find Him. You could be a decent person and find Him. You could be a person who's hopeless and find Him. You could be an atheist and find Him. You could be a bad person and find Him. The devil calls you by your sin. He knows you by your sin, but God knows you by your name. He knows that the sin is sickness, not you. And I'm learning that. But if it wasn't for that day, if it wasn't for everything leading up to last year, I probably wouldn't be here. If He would have not answered my prayer, if I wouldn't have even just given a slight chance to Him answer me, I don't know where I would have been. Everything happens for a reason. Don't give up. Everything will be fine. You just believe in Him and it won't come to you right away. It might be a whisper in the wind. It might be in a dream. It might be something that another person says to you that you realize, I just got done praying this. God answered it. So when you think He's not listening, He is listening to you. Just trust in Him. And He'll make everything better. That's all I really got. I hope it'll help you all out. I'm looking forward to the next podcast. I'm looking forward to all of you telling your stories in the future. Have a great day. Have a great life. And God bless.